not every set is run the way I like it to be run. And I'm a huge proponent for I'm using the word positive energy or positive, a positive mentality, or a positive approach. But it's more without using the word positive. I told you guys, let's lead with love, right? Because I think when you're in a very high stress situation, it's very easy to let the other side of you come out. The Eric Banner come out. The Hulk just come. And I think integrity means everything to me. It's something that's very important about like a core value that I really try to get from everybody that's on set with me. So it's all about like, look, you lead with love. Tell me the truth. How do you feel? What are you going through? And let's work on this, because right now for these 5 days, we're a family, and we can either argue and throw sticks and stones at each other, or we can all come together for this common goal.
What's up, everybody? It's the Poorly Edited Podcast, the show where we put a spotlight on some of the most creative minds we can find, as best as, some college grads can do, I guess now would be the more appropriate moniker.
We've got to come up with a new intro.
Yeah, it's tough out here. I'm Chandler Davis, one of the hosts.
I'm Amresse Farrow, one of the hosts.
And today we have a very special guest, Qbah Fernandez. He is a brilliant filmmaker, artist.
Wow, thank you.
We've worked with him. We trust him. We're into it. You got the Star Wars shirt on. We're ready to go.
No, this is the way.
It's
Qbah is an audio engineer, a music producer, filmmaker, entrepreneur, a community activist. The list goes on and on. Qbah, how are you? Thank you for being here today.
I'm wonderful. I mean, I love the setup here. I'm ready to go. But when you say we have a very special guest, I'm wondering if you say that to everyone, but if not, thank you. I appreciate that.
We don't, and I hope the other guests don't hear that.
We don't like most of the guests we have on. I'm just.
You know what? I'm going to hear that about myself next week, aren't I? All right.
No, I don't think we've really had guests that we don't like, because we don't have people on that we don't like. I don't want to sit with someone under. Yeah, I don't want to sit with someone under hot lights for an hour and a half and be like, that was horrible.
Thankfully, the audience can't feel how hot it is in this room.
Yeah, I hope you're in an air conditioned room.
Yeah.
I hope.
I don't feel that.
You're
bad.
wearing a blazer, sports coat.
I'm not.
He's trying to be
midway,
cool.
I'll strip it down. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh, so this is not going to be a PG podcast.
Pay extra tips.
Right.
That's fine.
For each sleeve.
That's extra.
Yeah.
We'll link his OnlyFans in the description below.
So we worked with you further from the mic. Oh no. Too well. Hearing it too well. So we worked with you on Purple Heart, on the set of Purple Heart a few weeks ago. You were the first assistant director, and you did a stellar job.
Oh, thank you.
And it was a smooth production with you at the helm.
Well, I wouldn't use those words, but yeah, thank you.
As smooth as a shoot could go under those conditions. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it could have been, for all intents and purposes, for everything that happened, a camera failing, you know what I mean? All these hiccups, like, could have been so much worse, but people like you in the positions you were in kept things afloat, kept things moving. And it demonstrated the need for someone with your skill set, with that knowledge and that approach to what was going on. And it demonstrated the necessity for someone like that, or people like that, to be around. Okay. You know what I mean?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the first AD job is something, especially for independent filmmakers, where you're like, I don't need that. I'll do that myself. Right. And then when you start diving into a million problems and you're trying to direct and you have the talent, but then you're getting phone calls and you start to realize, okay, there should be someone specifically dedicated to dealing with problems and making sure every department is moving smoothly. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it because of my background. I honestly just got into it 2 years ago, and it's something that I just felt like really motivates me to get up and go. I love solving problems. It's just something that I've done forever. And so, the challenge is, it's like, all right, challenge accepted, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
To me, I think I can glean some of the skills necessary for a job like that. You know, you need to be a problem solver. You need to be able to think critically in order to figure those things out. We also have to have those good coordination and kind of managing skills as well. Scheduling, timing, understanding the trickle down effect of this department's doing this and this department has to be ready for this, and being able to connect all those dots. But are there any skills? Are there any is there certain mentalities that you're applying as you're navigating those waters that you think that are kind of more under the surface that have really come in handy for you?
You know, I think a lot of the things that a lot of us do is very subconscious based on our experience. And you bringing this question up to me, I think, is making me realize how my past really helped. So what a lot of people don't know about me is, you know, I did theater growing up. You know, I was. I didn't
know that.
Yeah, I'm not big on talking about myself. This is, you know, actually my business partner. Partner gave me some points.
I was supposed to let the audience know that I am making Qbah boast about himself and talk about his current projects and all the amazing things he's doing, because Qbah is a very humble and modest individual that does not talk about himself at all. So he does not want to be portrayed this way, but we are actually making him
being forced.
Yes, he is being forced to talk about himself. So please talk to us about your many, many amazing qualities and characteristics that make you be able to do your job as well as you do it.
Well, shout out to Brian Sanchez for helping me with my bullet points, because he knows my issue too about talking about myself. So he helped me with this. But yeah, I have I grew up since 8 years old. I did theater. You know, I did video commercial work as the talent, actually. I did stage production. I helped with a lot of independent artists. I produced their music, as far as production, audio engineering, as well as putting their stage shows together, you know. And, you know, I had the blessing to travel with a Latin Grammy winner and put his stage shows together and work with him in the studios. And then I also did television production for 12 plus years. Yeah. And whether I was a camera operator or an audio engineer or an A2, which I do a lot of that, you know, I was able to work on a lot of Emmy nominated productions, Emmy winning productions. I did a lot of work at Viacom. I mean, the list goes on, but I think when you're saying where does my past really help me with AD work, you know, being a first AD, it's the stage and television side of my past, right? So, you know, currently I am working on films and I still do music production and music videos with some high-end clients, but the television past and my stage past, I mean, on stage, I think anyone who's been on stage knows if you're on at 3, you're on at 3. There's no, hey, you know, I need a new guitar, or I need, you know, or my left leg is, you know, not working for this dance move. Like, you got to go on, you know, the audience is waiting for you. And television is pretty much the same thing. So you're live at 3, no matter what issues you have, and you have to get creative for it. So I think with that past, dealing with, in your experience, the Purple Heart situation, you know, you're sort of prepared for disruption and how you're going to approach disruption and how you would, what's the best way to keep it moving. And obviously when you have an amazing team, and I keep going back to that because it doesn't matter how well I do it. And I think that's why I don't view what I do as important, because it doesn't matter how well I do it. If the team is not good, I mean, my job is pointless. So, I mean, having an amazing team there, making sure that they were viewing my approach and how okay, we don't have a camera, we're going to do this and that. Having an amazing DP, you know, shout out to JB Earl. He's amazing collaborator. I mean, he and I could talk for hours about things, and that relationship came in handy for this production. When things went wrong, he and I sat down. I was like, okay, to make me happy, I need this. To make you happy, we need that. How do we come together? Right. And he and I would devise a plan, and then my job was to get every department to work on that new plan.
Yeah. And I noticed that that's the biggest thing in this industry is adaptability and being able to adapt, but in the most positive way possible. And I think so many directors and assistant directors and producers are often in such a rush. They're in a rush through pre-production and production. You're very pressed for time. You don't have a lot of time. And so they're so much not in the moment that they forget to be, they forget the little things, to be kind, to be positive, to make sure that everyone feels very comfortable. And you made it very clear from the start to even us who came in a little bit later in the pre-production stage of Purple Heart, that it was so important to be positive. And when we all had the call with the team right before production, you said something that was very important, which I didn't think was as important as it was until we got on set. You were like, we are going to lead with love this week. Things are going to be hot. It's going to be hard. There's going to be so many disruptions and chaotic things that happen. And you were right. And they did happen, and you handled them with grace, as did, I think, the entire team. But that's so important, is to lead with that positivity, with your adaptability. You can be adaptable, but lead with positivity. And another thing that you did was you set the tone that the creativity of getting all that we needed to do in those 5 days, which was so much, getting it all done creatively meant that anybody could pitch their suggestions, as long as it was a valid suggestion that could get done. And like, I know Josh gave some amazing suggestions that kind of helped out cooling camera and that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of times on set, whether you're a PA or below the line or above the line, it's like you're kind of, sometimes people are afraid to give their suggestions, but it's a very good tone to have, especially when you're in independent projects. You're pressed for time and you need to be creative because you need to be shots up at a certain time. Right. And I think that positive adaptability and openness to allow your whole team to communicate with you, no matter their position, is very important to have in a leadership position.
Oh, great to hear. I remember us having those discussions. So I think it's fantastic that we're in a meeting, and I think there's nothing more important to a pre-production meeting than bringing value to a set. So the fact that we had that pre-production meeting and that you were on set and you were experiencing the exact things I was talking about, that makes me happy. Right. Because a pointless pre-production meeting is the worst. But no, not every set is run the way I like it to be run. And I'm a huge proponent for I'm using the word positive energy or positive, a positive mentality, or a positive approach. But it's more, without using the word positive, I told you guys, let's lead with love, right? Because I think when you're in a very high stress situation, it's very easy to let the other side of you come out. The Eric Banner come out, the Hulk just come, and I think integrity means everything to me. It's something that's very important about, like, a core value that I really try to get from everybody that's on set with me. So it's all about, like, look, you lead with love. Tell me the truth. How do you feel? What are you going through? And let's work on this, because right now, for these 5 days, we're a family, and we can either argue and throw sticks and stones at each other, or we can all come together for this common goal. And it's just like, it's just like the military or just like a basketball team. Like, you're dealing with stress. There's opponents, and our opponents are weather and time and, whatever other cameras breaking down. And so your goal is to, how do I adapt? How do I trust the team that's with me? Yeah. Get some good creative, thoughts on their side. And I think that's another thing about me and the people that I choose to have in my corner, as far as, the productions that I work on. It's all about, like, I trust your creativity. There's a reason why you're on set. When you understand the hierarchy of a film set, it's a little easier to be creative. I think people who are fresh and just step on a film set, they think they can just tell the DP right away, hey, why don't you do this? And that's like a huge no-no. And you could have had an amazing idea, but that's just not the way to do it. Like, there's a hierarchy. Tell whoever, your my brain is hazy right now, but whoever's in charge of your department head, that's the word.
Yeah.
Talk to your department head, give the idea to them, and then they can trickle it up. But I think that's the best way to approach it.
And that works. And you're not saying that person's suggestion isn't valid. It's just make sure you go through the proper channels of giving that suggestion or having that communication that you need to have with that right person. And it works out so much better that way.
And there's a huge reason.
Yeah.
Which, when you're a PA, you might not understand. You might go, why are they doing this? Like, if they did it like this, it'd be a lot easier. But you don't realize there were pre-production meetings saying to get the tone of the shot, to get the vibe of the shot. Or maybe they already spoke with me and I said, all these things are going to be a problem if we do it this other way. It's, people are communicating with each other.
You have to trust the process.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you have to say, okay, if I see something, let me tell my department head, because maybe there is an easier way to do this. But sometimes you'll talk to your department head and they'll say, no, we already brought it up. We have to do it this way.
It's very rare to be involved in every single aspect from the beginning. So oftentimes if you're coming in late on pre-production or you're just starting in the beginning of production, you don't see all that went into it. You don't know all the conversations that happen. You don't know what ideas were floated around or not. And it's very important for you to remember that, like, not just like a know your place thing, but remember there could be information that you don't know yet.
Correct.
So always keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Talk to your department head first. Don't just walk on the set and start talking to the director like you should use this light. Ooh, that'll get you kicked off some sets. Actually,
no. When you're in those situations,
actually now's the time. $5, Qbah Rico Instagram. You know what I mean?
That did not last long.
$5. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk before we started shooting. That it was fine. No. Make yourself comfortable, please. It's a toasty 95 degrees.
We should really have a third AC unit here.
Yeah.
Or a fan or something.
No, I'm good.
Or a fan or something. We'll work on it.
When you get into those conversations, let's say it's halfway through the day or it's near the end of the day, you're running a bit behind schedule. The DP wants one thing because he wants the shot to look the best. The director wants another thing because he wants his vision to be uncompromised, and you want everyone to stay on schedule and all the departments to be organized. G&E wants to be one step ahead. They need to know what's going on, all these different things. How do you have those conversations because there's a lot of compromise that's happening every waking moment of those conversations. So how is there any guiding principle that helps you when you're in those talks and when you're in those scenarios where you're like, okay, I'm going to check this is not worth continuing to debate about because it'll be quicker or more efficient to just concede and let it be, as opposed to, how do you really make those judgment calls? Is it all contextual, always 100%? Is there some key or rule of thumb you're trying to follow as you're navigating that, where you're like, I'm checking this doesn't chart on what's important enough to argue about, or this isn't, you know what I mean?
I think this is a great question. Because a lot of it is intuition, and I'd be lying if it wasn't. I'd be lying if I'm like, I have this formula that I do, and every time it works great. No, I think a lot of it is intuition. A lot of it is experience, but a lot of it is it's just like looking at any puzzle, So the biggest thing about me, and I think that has really helped me be a first AD, is I've been in every department on a set. Whether I was directing or I was producing or I was setting up lights or I was doing audio or I was doing camera. I think that has actually helped me a lot be a first AD, because I respect everybody's department. And I think that's where in other situations there's clashes, like, no, I'm important. No, I'm important. And when I come in, I'm very much like, you're all important. So let's just figure out what are you dealing with? What are you dealing with? And I assess the situation that way. Most of the time, my decisions are based on the creative aspect or the vision for the project. And so a lot of people might not know that. So that's why I think it's a great question, because the assumption is I'm just looking at it technically, right? Okay, like we have lights and we have camera. How do we make this work? No, I don't approach it that way. I look at it and I always say, how can we continue to tell the story correctly with the minimal tools that we have? And actually that's a gem, you know. So you could take that to the bank, you know. But I think if you go into every scenario that way, it's going to open up your mind to every set that you're on, you know. Not every department has to think of that, but an AD does. You know, I'm the assistant to the director, you know. I want him to not have to worry about these things. Yeah. But what's the director's job, right? Is to get his vision across. So as I'm worrying about the technical aspects, the goal at the end of the day is still, let's tell the story correctly. And if there's problems occurring, how can we continue to tell the story with the tools that we have?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so good.
That's so great. Yeah.
That is a gem. You're right.
We talked a bit about that because we had the episode a week or two ago where we talked about our experience on Purple Heart, and we shared a bit of that with Zach and Alyssa, how important it is for you to try out many different roles and many different things. And if you guys want to watch more, that episode was episode 117, I believe. Yeah, episode 117. But yeah, it's just so extremely important. And I was just talking to Michael Patrick Owen, who was the gaffer on Purple Heart. He's incredible. And I was talking to him and asking his advice. And I was like, well, what advice would you have for kind of young people that are interested in film production? And maybe they've been PAs before, but they know that they want to do one specific thing. And, you know, he said, find that one thing that you love when you're on the actual film set and follow that, but still try everything. Try every little department, being a PA in any department. You can be a PA in crafty and camera, or you try to focus on one area that needs your help. It's so important because then you will come away with it with all of that knowledge.
I think the way you framed it is cool too, because I think the way you frame that is, you have been in all those departments. You have worked your tail off in all those scenarios. And through that comes a respect in how you're going to communicate your ideas, how you're going to handle those conversations, some of those being tough conversations at times. And coming from and
every department, including director.
And coming from it with an air of respect because you know how it is. I think is so valuable. And it's almost like you couldn't do it to the best of your ability if that weren't your perspective. You know what I mean? Because how could you? How could you communicate in a way? It's like you almost have to know enough about these things and to know what it feels like to be doing these things yourself in order to do that properly, you know, and authentically and to be real about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just never thought about it until it's crazy, this conversation, but I completely agree. You know, I realized that my past has defined me and my work ethic and how I approach other departments and stuff. You're yeah. I mean, I was a PA doing, you know, my job was crafty for when I first started doing stuff at Viacom. And, you know, in your mind, when someone gives you that position, two things either go through your mind. You know, when you're out of college, you're like, this is great. I'm in the doors. I just have to shoot my way up, you know? And I remember, I won't say their name, but I remember I had another PA with me and their goal was to get on top right away. People see that. They want to, how well can you do the crafty? That's your job right now. Do that. And when that's good, then you can, you know, help somewhere else. And so, you know, I remember, as silly as this is, I remember realizing how important that job was. Think about it. Yeah. So to any PA out there, when they're like, hey, you know, you're in charge of setting up the table and getting crafty, you know, don't look at it like it's this small job. Like, if you don't do that, the crew will not eat. They'll be extremely angry. It's going to be, and you don't want that. Like food is everything. So I think from focusing on your department and understanding the importance of every department. And I remember having conversations with you guys and saying like, because you know, you guys you're amazing. I think telling people how well they do is important. And I do that all the time. I'm just not used to getting it this way. So I appreciate that. But I would always tell you it's because of everybody else. They're all killing it. Yeah. And that's why we're able to do it. So yeah, setting up the tables for crafty, getting the cameras ready. Like, every department is so vital to the success of a film.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's important to respect every department.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't done those roles. Don't yell at PAs. Don't, you know, so I've seen that because they've never been PAs. Yep. Some people have gotten lucky where they jumped straight to a camera operator and they don't realize, don't yell at PAs. They're human beings who are doing their best to get their job done, you know?
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So
unless you're sleeping on set,
that was the
only time I've yelled at a PA. Like, all right, you gotta go, bro. Like,
yeah, it's like come on.
Do you even have time? I don't think in 5 days there was a second where I thought I could even. You couldn't sleep on set. I don't think most people can find a way to mess around on set.
To see me, and believe me, I do get upset. But to see me let you get me upset, you just did everything possible to do that. So. Like I said, I've only encountered being upset with PAs because they were literally just sleeping on set. And that's then you get the wrath of Khan on that one. You know what I mean? Like it's a wrath.
I feel that. So you're, aside from doing AD work, which you have done a lot of, but you do have a lot of experience like this, your experience, your education, and then your own personal motivators, your own personal goals, and kind of what makes you personality wise really has made up you up until this point. You went to Freedom High School. You went to Freedom High School with Scott Tice.
Shout out to
Scott Tice. Zach's a big fan. Tice is like Zach's mentor. Zach is also in the audio program. Yeah,
he's so amazing. Such an amazing person.
And he's a rad dude. And we will be sending him this video, and he will be watching this exact clip.
And you went to, when we can talk about this in a bit, but you went to Scott Tice when you started getting into music.
Yeah. You know, I've always been big on quality and the importance of it and what that means as far as audience listening to you or even watching you. Quality is important because it can make or break, you losing that person as a fan or whatnot. And Scott brings the quality. He brings the quality every time.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's a bite for the portfolio those testimonials.
So you went to high school with Scott Tice, and then you did theater, which we also didn't know. And then you transferred your education, went to Full Sail University for audio engineering.
Yeah, I actually something I forgot to mention. I went to Full Sail for audio engineering, but I also went to Northampton Community College for television production.
Oh, okay. Really? Was that before?
That was before. Full
Sail? Okay.
So once I was there was actually a TV program at Freedom that we would go to the Banana Factory in Southside Bethlehem. And I always knew I loved production. I just didn't have anything in my life that triggered yes, this is what you're going to do. Okay. It was just okay, I guess I'll do it. I didn't really have any dreams or aspirations at the time to do production. But to be honest with you, I was like, oh, wait, fourth block, I can leave school and pick up a camera. That was my whole thing, But while I was there, I did realize a lot about myself and how I was always interested in behind the scenes stuff and how things were accomplished. So I went to Northampton Community College because I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I said, I guess I'll go for TV production. I actually got my degree there. But as I was there, I was diving so much into the world of music that I just said, you know what? I love music. It's a huge part of me. And my buddy came back from the military. And, I hadn't seen him since high school. And he was like, dude, I want to go to a place called Full Sail. And I was like, dude, me too. And we just kind of were like, all right, let's do it. Nice. And I said, you know what? Let me focus on audio. I already got the TV aspect, let me focus on audio. And so I went out there with him and we did our thing, top of our class and stuff.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. Full Sail, it's a wonderful institution.
Amazing.
Really amazing facilities and a lot of opportunity there.
Absolutely. But if I can take it back,
which I
don't, because I know I love experience has has defined me of who I am today and why I do it. But the film program now, Full Sail, it wasn't that way when I went. like back then Full Sail was known for its audio program. But the film program now, I think it's like guaranteed success. I mean, they teach you things that are just incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah.
So all of my friends who did the film program, they're all successful in the medium. Yep. And only a few of us actually do audio.
Yeah.
Out of my whole class, I think 4 of us were able to move on to do actual industry stuff. I mean, audio, it's as much as I love it, you have to play chess.
Yep.
If that's the career that you want, make sure you understand it's a music business, not just music. It's a business. Yeah. And especially on the audio engineering side, make all the right decisions to grow. Don't think you're going to go home, set up a music studio in your local town. Chances are people want to pay you $20 to get their song done. So just understand that. And honestly, when I graduated and I was dealing with the decline of music studios were closing down. Mm-hmm. I took both of my degrees and I merged them together. And I said, well, I got to put food on the table. I got to eat. I got to pay bills. So I started focusing my audio engineering skills into television. And so I started doing a lot of audio for TV. So a lot of TV shows and stuff that are even done out here, I do the audio for it. So believe it or not.
That's right. So when you got back from Full Sail, you worked at WFMZ?
Yeah. So my first opportunity was at WFMZ. And that's where I did the TV stuff. They had me do a lot of, I actually got to direct some couple of episodes of some shows there. Yeah. I was really on a good course to move up, but it literally happened during the crash of,
2007, 2008.
Yeah. So that's when it was like, they were just firing everybody.
Yeah.
It was like, no matter what, like I dealt with some form of COVID in a way, right? Like I dealt with that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So after that, I looked to see where I can make money elsewhere. And I got really lucky. I had a contact. And it's important that people know this. In this business, it's all about networking and who you know. And I got really lucky. I had a contact who I grew up with, who loved like hearing like music I would make in my room. Like I didn't take it serious, but it was just like me making music in my room and with my cousins and stuff. And since I was young, I was manipulating sounds from Puerto Rico and mixing it with like hip hop, which is common now, which is crazy. Like this is like the sound now, but I've been doing that since I was a kid. And he got me into a meeting in New York as an audio engineer because he knew he played chess to get me in the game. He was like, oh, I have this audio engineer. We went into one of the biggest mastering houses in New York that's done every famous artist album on the mastering side. And he introduced me to them. And long story short, I ended up meeting an artist named Baby Ranks. Shout out to Baby Ranks. He's one of the first Latin artists to win, urban artist to win a Grammy. And honestly, his album really revolutionized Latin music. And it's a huge reason why it's as popular as it is today. Thanks to his efforts. Looney Tunes and Baby Ranks, they made a classic album where if you're Latino, you know that album. It's Mas Flow Dos. It's the classic album. But yeah, so I did that. I got lucky. Ranks believed in me, and that's why I always shout out Ranks because he's amazing individual. He saw what I can do. He was like, wait, other stuff, not just what we hired you for. And so I was helping direct his stage shows, and I was helping being in the studio with his audio engineers. I mean, and his audio engineers were dudes who have platinum plaques, and I'd be in there kind of because I, like always, even with film, I knew the vision that Ranks wanted, so I would make sure the song stayed to that course, even in a mixing aspect of it. So,
and that's an important skill for the engineer to have, and that's something that any artist, that's what they're always trying to find. And sometimes it takes a while to find an engineer that can make that happen, and have that gel.
I can't say I'm as good as the guys he hired. They're truly amazing, but I think my gift has always been to make visions come to life with the tools that surround me.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at saying I know what you're good at, whether you know what you're good at or you know what you're good at. I know what you're good at. Yeah. And I can see it, and I can see where you can excel. And I think that's what's always been my gift is I know where people can excel and or how to help a project with your talents and make it go that way. So yeah, being in the studio, I wasn't the one mixing it. I was with the mixing engineer, but since I knew Ranks' vision it was easy for Ranks not to have to waste his time to go to the studio. And since I understood how the gear worked, it was easy for me to say, the decay on your reverb is you got to lower it a little bit, like silly little things like that. But I knew what Ranks wanted.
Exactly. And so was it by this time that you started making your own business, or had you already had your own business that you were doing that production work through? You did become an entrepreneur as you were doing freelance things. So was this before or after? Or was it kind of this gradual?
So, I think I was like most people, where you're kind of like, where am I supposed to be in my life?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do? And I think that's a common thing that I see with a lot of people who graduated. And even though I was doing cool things, did my bank account reflect that? I can't tell you it did. It was still, I think if I did the math, all the hours I was putting in, even when I was touring and stuff, I think I was making as much as like, a manager at Giant. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, 6 figures or anything like that. So I was really curious on where I wanted to be and where I wanted to do with my life. And I really enjoyed, in my journey, I met Brian Sanchez, who I mentioned earlier. Shout out to Brian, who became a brother. Mm-hmm. And the things that I lacked, like, he's an expert in, and the things that he lacked, I'm an expert in. Right. So as I was in the self-discovery, I realized there's something that I'm really good at. And I'm really good at getting the right people into a room. Mm-hmm. And I'm really good at making a product with nothing. I can have $3 in my pocket, and I'll show you all my videos that we had like no budgets on. Yeah. And you wouldn't think it, the ones that I was directing or that I was producing. And you wouldn't think it because I feel like that's a skill that I had. So I kept thinking, okay, like, there's no reason I should not be in the industry. That was always my mentality. Like, there should be no reason. Like, I'm already doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm on Emmy-winning projects and stuff. So I decided to say, let me do it myself. And Brian and I met him about 6 years ago. Our growth has been exponential since we met each other and started working with each other. And it got to the point where we just recently, I would say a year and a half ago, we said, okay, like, we love doing this. Let's just go all out now. Let's go all out. I'll go 100%, because he lived the freelance life I did as well. Yeah. And that's how we made our money. But the moment we decided to create a business, that's when true success started occurring, and I think that working with him and having someone that has the same integrity as you is vital. And Brian's oh my gosh, he's an amazing human being. But we started focusing on our music production, and saying, okay, well, we do TV and we do film. Let's do this stuff. And not only that, we love composing also for film and TV. So we do that as well. So he and I formed a company called San Rico, which is just for the music side of things. And I also formed a company called A-Trek, which is for the film and the TV side of stuff. So right now I'm producing my own TV shows. We have a doctor show in the works that's going to be on Telemundo. We have some music production. We've been working with some high-end clients, to get these songs on the radio. Brian and I have been extremely lucky to have songs on Clear Channel Radio, with independent artists, which is absurd. Yeah. And right now we're composing, and we got to do some great work for some TV shows, and we're working on composing on films, and we're actually got the call. The director of Purple Heart, he had another film. He actually called Brian and I to do the
Mike Walsh
first film. Yeah, Mike Walsh to do
for Control.
That's Owen. That's Owen.
Oh yeah.
Walsh is Who's There.
Oh, Who's There? Right.
So we're gonna compose that.
So Jared Sokurka is in the process of wrapping the editing. On that. So you're going to be composing. Yeah.
Well. Yeah. So I'm very clear when it comes to composing. That's Brian's cup of tea. So I'll be the music supervisor. I'm really good at making sure that the right elements are being done and all that. And when it comes to the music side, that's different. That's where I'm hands on. He and I go back and forth laying ideas down and stuff.
And you were first AD on Who's There as well.
Correct.
So you already were on that set. You already know that production very well. So you know the storyline and everything like that.
And I think that's why Walsh, when he found out, because like you guys know, I'm horrible at saying, hey, this is what I do.
Right.
I think when he found out that I did music and all that, he was like, all right, then.
Nice.
Do better, right?
And
awesome.
Mike Walsh has many productions that he is gearing up for. Mike Walsh, Mike Walsh just started Drulin Productions, so he's got Who's There was his first shoot that Craig Friebolin directed, and then Purple Heart was his second. Right. I know he is already planning what might be happening for his next shoot, so I'm very excited, and it's great opportunities for the Lehigh Valley for so many talented filmmakers and artists.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing news for the Lehigh Valley. I mean, I feel like I've always had to leave this town to do what I love or to get paid to do what I love, you know?
Yeah.
And if you took your job serious, you left the town to get paid and do the right networks, you know? But what's happening now, which is amazing, and, you know, I don't know, did COVID create this? I don't know. But there's this industry that's being built now out here that, you know, you got all these talented people. They're all making films together now out here. And I haven't seen this ever, you know, and I know there was organizations out here and they but I feel like even the people in those organizations, we all worked elsewhere. Right. So this is the first time that everyone's coming together and saying, oh yeah, let's create an industry out here. Like, oh, you have a film too? Let's go. Let's work on that film. Oh, you have one?
I think, there's been so many, you know, there's some amazing film organizations that are kind of outside of the Lehigh Valley. Right. You've got Philadelphia, there's New Jersey, New York, Pittsburgh there. And then people would travel for meetings and for gigs and stuff. And we have amazing groups here like FIFO and Route 20.
Where we met you at.
Yeah, where we met you. And Route 22 Filmworks. But it's really just been in the last couple of years that the community that knew each other and worked together on some personal projects, but would kind of just travel separately, are now staying in together and forming a team, a real community that's like, you've got your go-tos ready to call. You've already got your crew all ready to go here in the Lehigh Valley. So it's just, and we've been talking about how to really put the Lehigh Valley on the map in terms of film production, because it's such a underutilized, undervalued spot, I think, that people just don't know about. It's like this hidden gem where you can get like a rural area and you can get anything you need, like a downtown suburban area. Right. And within 45 minutes, you've got your sets, you've got your locations, you've got everything you need here. And I think more and more in the next probably 10 to 20 years, you're going to see some major productions being made here. Yeah. And it's good that we are gearing up and having the crew that they're going to need already here.
Right. Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I think what's happening and the approach that's causing this great rift, right, and causing us to kind of grow and propel forward in the valley. I think it all stems from I've always heard I want to put Lehigh Valley on the map. I've either heard it on the music side, I've heard it on the video side. I mean, I've heard this forever and a day. I think approaching it that way has never worked, right? I think by just saying, hey, who are you? And just creating an industry and not even thinking about, are we going to be on the map or not? Little by little will turn into an industry. So even in the music side of things, I work with a lot of artists out here. Some had great success, some, you know, but what do they end up doing? They end up moving and they end up going somewhere else. And we don't focus on establishing an industry out here.
Right here and keeping here. Because so many people would be here and think, all right, well, I've got my small little meetings I go to on a weekly or monthly basis, but to get anything real, we have to leave. And now more and more people from bigger cities are leaving their bigger cities or their bigger or already established film groups and then coming to the Lehigh Valley. And that's what we're seeing more and more with FIFO especially. Right. And that's what we want. We want less people leaving and more people coming here and seeing
and obviously,
what's happening.
You know, the trick is how do we do that, right? Like, how do we do that? And what are the ways to do that? And how do we elevate the small businesses out here to do that? You know, I definitely understand that, you know, but I think, like I said, you know, every business needs to leave, right? But if you say my home base is here, right? So even if I am going to I'm going to speak to artists right now just because I worked with a lot of artists that used to say that, oh, I'm going to put Lehigh Valley on the map.
Yeah.
And then they would leave and they wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
So it's like what I always say to a lot of people is like, yo, The Rock came from out here.
Yep.
How many? What's her name?
Amanda Seyfried
came from out here. I mean, the list goes
Taylor
on.
Swift came from out here.
Jonathan, if you're a Star Trek guy, I mean, this guy's, if you're a Star Trek nerd, like number one, I mean, they called him number one. He came from Liberty,
Yeah.
So like, people already made it from here. You know what I mean? So the goal is not I'm going to be the first to make it out here or the first. You're too late. Like there's 10 people in front of you already that made it. The purpose is to maintain an industry out here. So what I like about Philly's a great example. So what I like about Philly is I've gone to like 2 or 3 concerts from like I'm going to call them independent stars.
Yeah.
And they were locals from Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Sold out venue. We were at this venue, sold out, amazing production, fans, everyone buying CDs, merchandise, the whole thing. And yes, he was on tour because that's what you have to do as a business. But his hometown, his home base was in Philly. And a lot of Philly artists do that. And I just started saying, if the Lehigh Valley approached it the same way, right? Yeah. So yeah, when we're making films, obviously we might have to film in in some other country or go on some island to get the shot that we need. We just saw, Tom Antos and he had to go to Ecuador to get the shot. Yeah. That's different. But if your home base, if your home business is here and we start establishing reasons to come here as well, our own big studio lots, our own empty warehouses, things like that, I think we can do it.
I totally agree.
For your own education, for your business, it is very important to travel and see what else is out there and become more educated and worldly and experienced. But it's important to never forget where you came from and remember the community that got you where you are, and always try to bring that back when you can, safely, stably do that. Bring whatever opportunities or recognition you can back to that same community because they will thank you for it.
That's why I respect The Rock a lot because I was watching his show. What is the football show? I don't know why the name's escaping me. It's on HBO. Even though his character is a fictitious character, he uses real things about him. And literally, he was in this meeting on the show, and he's like, "Yeah, I came from a place called Bethlehem," and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like he literally used his real life.
Wow,
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. They talked about the steel, and now I'm hearing that he has a new show that's going to be based about Bethlehem and him young, but they're going to call it Bethlehem, PA. They're not going to, I don't know if they're filming here, but I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We have such a big star saying this is, I don't forget where I came from. And would we even have The Rock if his one coach, and if you ever hear his, him talk about the person that changed his life was his coach at Freedom High School. And I know, he was still there when I was there, the coach that actually spoke to him, and it's like, that coach changed his life because he could have just been some dude, know? So like you said, it's really good that to acknowledge where you come from. I think it's important, and only a few people do. And The Rock is one of them, which I've always been impressed with.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you are so community is really important to you. I know. Important. I mean, it's so important to us. It is a huge part of our business, but it's a huge part of us as individuals. And we all met and shared a common love of our community and wanting to give back in the biggest ways that we could. And I know that you are really involved in the Latin community, especially here in the Lehigh Valley. The past couple of years, you've been on the Lehigh Valley Chamber of the Latin Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yeah. So currently, I'm actually the vice chair of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Congratulations on being elected.
Yeah, they just elected me this month, so I'm a little nervous about this, but I've been on the board for a while, and before that, I was on the committees. And I since I was a kid out here in Southside Bethlehem, I always felt like it was really important to fight the stereotype. Yeah, I have urban qualities about me, but you put me in a professional setting and I'm going to get the job done. If not the standard, I'm going to exceed the standard. That's always been my goal, And I think I don't like using the word system, but yeah, there are things in play that people don't realize that allow them to get stuck in their environment or in a situation in their environment.
Yeah.
Where I had the blessing, and not everyone has the blessing. So I had the blessing to be in theater, as silly as that sounded, but I was the only kid on my block that was leaving my block to be with other kids from different races and different talents, and realizing then, like, oh wait, my living status is not the way everyone lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I didn't think about it at the time. I was just some kid and, you know, whatever. But by the time I got to high school is when I really started picking up on it and saying, oh, I'm being viewed a certain way because of, you know, my friends and stuff like that. And how just because we were Hispanics from Southside, the assumption were that we were troublemakers and, you know, things like that. Especially when you come from urban markets, most kids from these areas are listening to hip hop or reggaeton or whatever, you know, so we're dressing in that fashion and things like that. And you start getting judged right away, you know, and every culture has their stereotype that they battle, right? So on my end, on the Hispanic end, once I picked up on it in high school, I was very vocal. I was the only Latino from Southside, even in high school, in the theater company. But I was still cool with everybody. So it wasn't like I was like the nerd and you know, I was cool with everybody. Like everybody, like, you know, I got along with everybody. I was cool with everybody, the football team, whatever. But I was in theater and I was like, yeah, I'm in theater. And what? Like, what's good? You know? So believe it or not, it helped others in my community to go to theater that would have never done it out of fear because they're battling also. Am I supposed to not do that? Am I supposed to be this kid, this urban kid? So believe it or not, there's a lot of
leading by example, like just showing people. And that representation is so important. We're always talking about that. You don't realize how subconsciously that representation means so much to another individual. And they may not realize it, but seeing someone that looks like you, and it doesn't mean physically looks like you, but dresses the way you dress, has the same culture, speaks the same way, comes from the same background, has the same socioeconomic background or education, like whatever that representation for you is going to look like, knowing someone else is doing that same thing and happy and doing it successfully and being accepted into something you may be interested in, whether you recognize it in yourself or not, that makes you way more likely to put yourself in that position and take that step forward into that thing you're interested in. So never underestimate, like, what you're doing could mean a whole lot for another person. The next person, you might not ever see it, but it may mean a lot.
And I think the importance of doing that is you're going to run into a lot of people that are willing to help you. Yeah. But you would have never found that if you didn't think that
it's about like The Rock's coach. I mean, it's a similar situation. He was on a path, was not a good path. And he had someone in his life that showed him there is an out, there is other ways, there is these other outlets you can have, which put him on the better path.
Like on my end, Jennifer Wesco, shout out Jennifer Wesco. Jennifer Wesco was a teacher. Right now she's won countless Freddie Awards, and I mean she's just amazing. She was just starting when I was there, and I mean I couldn't even get rides home because people would drop me off at the bridge, assuming if I crossed that bridge, it's trouble. And she would always take me. She always believed in me, and you know, if you were to ask me how many teachers I'm still in contact with today, I'd tell you one, you know, since I was in high school, because she made that much of an impact, because she believed in me. And guess what? Yeah. After that, she's told me, she's like, I have countless, you know, Hispanic, you know, theater kids. And like, it really opened the door that I didn't realize, but I was determined to fight the stereotype. I was very determined. So now I'm doing it in a different way. Right. Yeah. So when you say, there's a bodega down the street, or there's a Hispanic owned restaurant, right? What are your thoughts and what are your feelings when you walk into that place, or just saying it, right? And why are they not at a certain standard? You know, what have they done to themselves that maybe they've experienced because of society, and haven't elevated or grown their business, assuming I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, you're supposed to stay in your box.
Right.
And so often with small businesses or people doing, individual ventures, they're like, this is the way I've seen other people do it.
Right.
This is the way it's been done for generations in past. Whenever I tried to kind of like take a little step outside that box, I wasn't really met with any welcoming environment. Right. So I'm just going to stay in my lane and only do this thing. And that's a really, really hard to break out of. It's hard to break out of for people in a quality way. But it's also really hard socioeconomically to break out of that boundary of like, why does my life not have too much diversity? It's because you keep repeating the same behaviors because honestly, a lot of the systems that we have in place kind of keep you in that box.
Exactly. And I think I always go back to when I was a kid in Southside, 9-10 years old, I went to theater and I saw other things. The theater helped me realize my situation. So that's how, as vice chair, that's how I'm applying I'm like, okay, these businesses need their theater, right? Yeah. They need to get out.
Yeah.
So that's where I come in and say, look, I grew up in America. Like, I understand what real standard is and real value. You might not know these things, but here, let me show you. Because not everyone's doing that on purpose. They just don't know. They don't know any better. And a lot of them are immigrants. They're the first generation to come here. And their kids are all like me. Like, they all speak great. Their English is better than whatever their native, whatever their parents' language is or whatever. And so my job right now as vice chair, I'm trying to create a system where we're saying, you're here, whether you know it or not. Let's just awaken you to be here. Now, right now, we're creating programs to help these businesses, be either equal, standard, or what I'm really fighting for is to be above standard. These businesses, but they need their theater company is what I'm trying to provide. Basically, just an eye-awakening experience so that they can improve their business.
And from a business perspective, that has a lot of trickle-down effects on their entire communities that they are within.
Absolutely.
And it's an amazing place to start, to enact that change for everybody. Oh.
Yeah, in the chamber, we do a lot of things for the community too, because you're not going to have good small business without a strong community. So
absolutely not. And a strong community that branches out into other communities and really becomes a melting pot of all the communities within your neighborhood or your general area is so important. You have to be supported by everyone, not just your technically immediate community. And that's what the Lehigh Valley is trying to do. And that's what we need to keep working towards.
Absolutely. And not everyone has to join the Chamber of Commerce or do anything like that. Like I partner with, her name's Priscilla. She owns a company.
Sosnowski, Encore.
She owns a company called Encore Live Entertainment. I've been working with her for years to help elevate her brand. She and I have been partnered on many projects together. And she literally, during COVID, took it upon herself to help the homeless, to help feed and give clothes to the homeless and do these things. So we ended up coming up with little programs, and she's expanded the program so much that now she's getting opportunities from high-end foundations to be their director.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. I was just about to ask you about this. I'm so glad that you brought it up because the work that you guys are doing right now is so amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, she's like a sister to me, Priscilla. We've if I didn't already, shout out Priscilla. Shout out everybody else, but shout out Priscilla. She's an amazing human being. She does everything she does is authentic. She does it for the community. Actually, it was me that said, hey, like, people need to know what you're doing as a Latina business owner, because it's just vital that people understand that, breaking the stereotypes, and like we're doing things, and Priscilla does everything above standard. Her whole business practice.
I know, and I've been so impressed by the things she's done. Just even recently, I didn't have the opportunity to go, but it's not just working within the Latin community. She works with local nightlife, and what she did was incredible with the Lehigh Valley what was it? The Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce's annual event.
Our gala.
The annual gala. There was the Latin one, and then there was the huge one where she brought out
the robots. I was backstage with her.
The robots were really incredible. Nobody expected that. It was like they thought they were just getting the cast member from the Brady Bunch, and then a bunch of robots came out, and we're all just like, "What is going on here?"
She's amazing, and that's a testament to, I think, me as a first AD, Priscilla with her company, Brian Sanchez, if you hear his productions, and I feel we're all equal. We're all equal. It's up to you to, your work ethic should define you, not your race, not your background, not anything. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that, because I think there's enough experience. I mean, there's enough examples of your background doesn't define you. Your work ethic and character define you.
That's amazing. For anyone listening right now, since I know that you're so involved, do you have any suggestions just on some of the projects you're working on, like on how people can get more involved and help not just the Latin community, but just the community in general? Yeah.
So right now, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, because I was just voted in, we also have a new chair, a new chair, and we have brand new board members, fresh faces. Oh my goodness. And they're so talented, these individuals. So right now we're building the foundation. We're building the foundation of what the Hispanic Chamber is going to look like. And let me tell you, you're going to see a lot of us in the community because of all the amazing talent that we have on the board. So right now we're still working out some of the kinks. We're still ironing out, but we have a lot of the ideas that are being presented on the table are so amazing. And trust me, we're going to be in your face this time. Like, you're going to know what we're doing and how we're doing it. If not, HCCLV, I believe, on Instagram. Or if you, I'll give you the information so you can plug it in your comments or whatever for the podcast, just in case. But because we're rebranding everything, so I don't want to say what it is now until I get the information from everybody. But we're rebranding everything. I'm really excited for a lot of the projects, and I know because we're not just doing it for the Hispanic community. Like I said, we're just elevating the standard. So we're all going to be involved, and we're going to have a lot of fun with anybody who wants to attend.
Awesome.
Elevating the standard. That should be the new motto of Lehigh Valley. Honestly. That's amazing. I'd like to segue into something that I really don't want to not talk about. About your music. Personally. So we were on set, and Michael Patrick Owen, we were in the middle of setting up a shot, and he just stops and he's just like, I want to listen to music. And he just turns on this song, and we're all just jamming to it. And we didn't realize that it was your music. So he turned on Closer by, is it the DXP
for sure.
DXP. And I don't know if you had the chance to watch the music video, but it's such a beautiful and heartbreaking music video. And I know that you directed that, and the song is amazing, and it's a banger. And it was, what was that? I just I think everyone should listen to it. So go on YouTube and follow you on YouTube. But what was that process like, directing that music video and the choices for coloring and the story and everything like that?
So Closer was the beginning of Brian and I realizing that we make a really good team. So we started producing records. We made 2 or 3 before that, but once we got Closer, I'm not going to bang the table for the audio guy, but once we created Closer, we realized, wow, we have something here. So we've had songs on the radio before that, but Closer just felt right. It just felt like Brian and I were going to do this for years. It wasn't just going to be like this collaboration. As far as the directing aspect, believe it or not, I was producing a lot of music videos. I was co-directing a lot of music videos. Closer was the first that I said, let me be the director, 100% direct this. And the reason for that was because I had this really special story that was really close to my heart. that I wanted to tell and I wanted to share. So every frame was important.
Yeah.
So it's one
and there were some very, very intentional things, from like the placing of like the Lehigh Valley steel stacks in the background and like of him driving, like very subtle things.
Correct.
That, because I had to watch it a few times to kind of like see some of the things. But every single shot was so intentional, a very beautiful way that played into the very loving but kind of heartbreaking story.
Yeah, no, you know, and I'm not afraid to talk about what the real meaning of the video is. You know, I always let everyone kind of decipher what they want from it. But you know, the biggest theme for Closer is regret. You know, so the song is talking about funny we talk about compromise on set, but relationships. You need compromise in relationships. You know, and I think in a relationship, especially young ones, like when you're first starting, you're worried about you, right? And some are only worried about the other. And no, there needs to be a balance. You matter, they matter, right? So Closer was at a point of saying like, this couple were about to break up, but at the end of the day, this individual can only dream and think about this other person. Like you were meant to be. So you just have to come to this compromise. You know what I mean? Come closer, exactly. So when I dove into the video, I thought more of like, what is the worst case scenario to not compromising, right? To separating yourself from this person that you were meant to be with or whatnot.
That life keeps literally pulling you towards.
Correct. And what a lot of people don't know is years back, before my father passed away, God rest his soul, I went to Florida to surprise him with my brother. Like we hadn't seen my father together, with my brother and I together, in a very long time. So we told him, hey, we ordered you a UPS thing. It's coming at 4. Open the door. Like you want to get in. My dad was in his 80s, so he's like, oh, okay. Like he didn't know how it actually worked, you know. It just assumed, okay, at 4 o'clock it's coming. And my brother and I showed up at the door at 4, and it was a great moment. But my father was a very proud person, you know. He was a Cuban revolutionary. I mean, he fought with Che Guevara. He was alongside Che Guevara, fighting for the revolution in Cuba, and obviously they succeeded. To then have the torment of the new leader not do what they fought for. They fought for freedom, and they didn't get that when they won. So my father, you know, that's just who he is. Like he's this really strong person, even into his 80s. So his brother, my uncle, passed away 2 years prior to us surprising my father. So my father never got to go to the grave site because it was in Tampa, which is about 4 hours from Miami. And so my brother and I surprised him to drive him to go to the gravesite, you know. So on that trip, on this 4-hour trip, and excuse me if I get emotional, because I don't get emotional, but with my father, it's like a special thing for me. But my father discussed all the things that he regretted, and I've never heard that from a parent. You know, like you know, you always have this assumption that parents are just, you know, they know what they're doing. And as you get older, you realize, no, they're very flawed, you know. But he never talked about regrets before. And he just, for 4 hours, he discussed his regrets and the things that really affected him. And we got to the gravesite, and, you know, he paid his respects to his brother. And that just resonated with me. And I just, you know, I knew how important regret was after that. And it's a theme that even in new films that I'm directing and stuff, it's still a major theme that I utilize as a director to this day, because of how much of an impact that moment happened with me and my father. And so Closer is about regret. And there's this old man who takes this trip. He goes on memory lane. He goes to this gravesite, but he's thinking about this woman that he lost. You know, there was this dispute. And the moment he wanted to get her back and really talk about it and solve the issue, it was too late. She passed away. And
he just kept being pulled from. And that's the thing. It was just, I think it was seeing it from the beginning, you know, meeting his children and then being like, that's the one. It's my soulmate from knowing as a child, then being pulled away from so long. And then the second they see each other, it's being pulled right back towards each other,
correct.
and then being pulled away again. But I think that second time that you see them being pulled away again, I think they both kind of assume life will pull us right back together again. You know, they're upset, but they're not as worried, and that didn't happen, and they didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, and the flower represents, you know, that the flower is a forget-me-not. That's the name of the flower. So, and it's
so beautiful, and the coloring for that was so beautiful and intentional.
Right, and that was the whole purpose. It's like, you know, you live in this world, right? And the flower really represented all those things that you tend to forget about. You know, all those amazing things in your life that people push to the side. And so at the moment, she picks up the flower and she's like, what am I doing? Like this, we need to be together. And he was doing the same thing. And, you know, and then it was too late. And this old man has to live with that regret the rest of his life. And it's just very important because I want people to not do that. You know, hearing that from my father, one of the people that I cared about the most, hearing that, it was like torture for me, you know, and I don't want anyone to have to deal with that. So I figured, I'm not an emotional person. Like if you see me cry or spill anything out, it's in my art. So I said, this is my tool. This is my art. I'm going to express this in this medium. You know, I want you to either hear the song and compromise with the person you love and not live with regrets, or watch this video. And it doesn't even have to be a relationship. It could be family members who don't talk anymore, you know, and like, why? Like, you know, don't live with that, because trust me, when you're 80 years old, it's gonna affect you, you know.
Regret is really tied to time, and how you should never assume, and you do a great job of it in the video, you should never assume that you have enough time, and that you will have more time, and that the time will just keep coming, because it won't. And so always just lead with every single action intention of being like, this could be the last time that I have to do these things and to take care of these things, and to let this person know that I care about them, because you may not get that next time and you'll regret it forever.
Yeah. But I have to talk, since this is a technical, you know, podcast, like I have to talk about the technical aspects. When you have a goal and you have a dream, go for it. Brian and I had no clue how to create a black and white video where the flower remained the same color. There's silly things you don't realize about doing that. If the girl's jeans are blue, the sky is blue. You know, so you have this blue flower, you know. But what makes Brian and I a great team, and I always tell everybody, you should do the same thing, because I'm having such a great time on every one of my new projects. Right now, I'm going to be directing my first feature next year with my partner, Sarah Viteri. We got you on there too. I'm shouting out everybody today. Sarah and I have been, she's an amazing producer, and I got to direct the film with her last year, and now we're working on our first feature. But having someone like Brian on my side, where if you have an idea, go out there, shoot it, go out there, figure it out. And everyone assumes everything's on YouTube, but a lot of gems are not on YouTube, and it's for a purpose. People don't want you to know those gems, you know? So go out there, try to figure it out, have fun, focus on the story. You know, just like when I was in AD, when you're directing, you know, your story is vital. Doesn't matter what lighting you have, whatever. If you focus on the story, you're going to get a lot of reactions like you did. I'm very honored and grateful that you took the time to watch it and listen to the songs.
I mean, I watched all of your music and listened to it, but that was just the one that stood out the most to me. Awesome. Because you can tell the heart that went into the story.
It's defined me as a director. So after I did that one, I knew who I was as a director. And that's why I tell everybody, just go out there and do it, because it might be your 6th project. I mean, Closer was, I don't even know, it was my 10th project. And that's what allowed me to say, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And we're doing wonderful things. And I won't say yes to any story unless there's, you know, certain attributes in the story. And that's what I love, because now I know who I am after doing Closer.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about that project in particular.
Thank you.
It was moving for sure. And it's definitely something to think about, you know, and everything that you've had to say today is something to think about. And whether it be from the technical, from the educational, from the experience based, from the, so many gems, so much insight, just giving it out. And the, I'm very happy that you were able to come out and talk to us today.
Oh,
and
I'm happy.
I'd love to do it again. There's so
there's more.
When we have people like you on the show, it's hard because we know how multifaceted you are. It's hard to cover it all in such a short amount of time. It's a long amount of time, but it's also a short amount of time. And, so it's been an amazing conversation.
No,
I hope we've covered some of your bullet points.
Yeah, Brian, don't be mad at me. I tried my best, brother. The list is long.
If you have anything, but we can't keep you here forever, even though we literally would hold you hostage for 10 hours straight and keep talking.
And that's a threat.
And that's a threat. And we've done it before. But if there's anything that you're going to be working on in 2020 or coming up that you want to shout out, anything you want to shout out,
any groups,
please do.
Yeah, no. And thank you for letting me do that. Especially I'm so bad at it. My team will hate me if I didn't promote. So I mentioned Sarah and I, we just, our film is going to be hitting the film festival circuit soon.
Yeah.
Life happens,
then you cry. Yep. Hey. So she wrote it, she produced it. I'm really grateful that she asked me to direct it, because I think like a lot of creatives, we were like, no, we're just gonna wait till the right thing happens, right? Don't do that. The best thing I ever did was say yes to Sarah, because she and I worked on a lot of live productions, but this is the first time that we did a film together, and now we have a partnership. Now we're already working on 3 other films.
Nice.
My first feature that I'm writing with my partner, Mark Lucini. And so Life Happens, Then You Cry. It's going to hit the film festival circuit soon. It's my first film. Don't judge me too harshly, but you'll see how good we did with literally no dollars.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it, and you'll never hear me say that. Like, I'm not big on saying that, and I'm really proud of it. Yeah. I think it's watchable. That's my joke for a lot of indie stuff. I'm like, if it's not watchable, you didn't do your job. Like, you should really try your best to make something watchable. And Sarah would always laugh at me because I'm like, is this watchable? I don't know. Like, can people watch it? But our test screenings went well. People actually cared about the story. Nice. They weren't worried about camera angles or sound. And that's typically, as a tech person, that means you did your job, where they're not worried about the technical aspect of it and more about the story. So great job, Sarah. That was her first script too. So, and what's crazy is we've done, I think, 6 films after that. Like, we're like experts now, but that was our first one. It's finally coming out. Brian and I learned a million lessons. So go out there, shoot, just keep telling stories, and trust me, you're going to get better, because you're going to perfect your craft. Second of all, I'm speaking of Brian, San Rico. Check us out, sanricomusic.com. You'll see some of our work, some of our demo, but hit us up.
How do you spell that?
San Rico. So it's SAN and then RICO music.com. So you'll see some of the stuff that Brian composed for Life Happens, the music that we produced together, stuff for TV shows, things like that. We're still building it. It's brand new. Brian and I have some really great contracts in the works that I can't really talk about, but stay in touch with us if you need something for your project. We're very accessible. Yeah. Depending on who you are, if it's an independent, I will. They're coming for me. Hold on, let me.
I think they're more likely coming for us.
This is why I never self-promote.
Yeah.
Every time this happens,
you're like,
going to jail.
We know where you at. No. So, but anyways, So sanricomusic.com. Like I said, we just started it, but we have some amazing contracts in the work. We are currently working on television productions, music productions. And if you need something for your film, a composer for your film or anything like that, please reach out to us. We're very accessible, and we're very aware of people's budgets. And so the one thing I do say is, if you're making money, we're making money. So don't be surprised if there's a budget, but we're very big on understanding people's budgets. So please reach out to us. It's, and then Priscilla, Encore Live Entertainment, I believe it's EncoreLiveENT.com. I think that takes it to the YouTube, but a lot of the ways to actually find Priscilla and everything are on there. but Encore Live Entertainment.
Based here in the Lehigh Valley. Correct. So those are my shout outs and my promos for them. And then your YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay, so you see, thank you, because I would have never done that. So I'm asking everybody, please follow me on my Instagram. It's at Qbah Rico. Qbah spelled differently. It's QBAH, and then Rico, RICO. Qbah Rico. Follow me on the Instagram. That's my business page. Everything else is more personal, but I'm expanding on that now. Now that we have some great things in the works, you'll see me on there a lot. You can DM me. I will respond to you. I'm not the type to ignore people's DMs. So please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. Wow. And then that's an open invitation. Yeah. We don't usually get those on there. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us, Qbah.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. It's been an absolute blast, and I feel wiser walking away from this table.
I hope
and
so.
hotter.
Absolutely, and way warmer. Well, be careful. And we want to thank all of you for watching and listening to the Poorly Edited Podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and you can catch more episodes similar to this one on Spotify, iTunes, the video version on YouTube. Check us out, Lab212 on Instagram, YouTube, everything else. And we hope you have a great day. Thanks so much. And that's it. That's all. Thank you so much, man.
No,
you killed it. You killed it. You're telling me you don't do that? You're telling me that you don't do a lot of interviews?
No.
You killed it.
Oh, okay.
You're a natural.
We're just gonna let you guys bake for like a few more minutes.
Figured out a way to turn them off. So actually,
Can I get like a BTS photo here?
Yeah.
Promote it today.
Yeah.
If one of you guys can take a photo or send it, or you probably have a better camera than me, so
Get a BTS photo of the Amazon Basics lighting and I'm just kidding.
and everybody smile. Smile. I'm gonna give one. Like, get a camera in the shot. Oh god.
Nice.
thank you so much.
Thanks.